Hey everybody, my name is Oddball Arts, or Chloe if you know me personally. I am going to teach you guys today how to do lettering on windows because it has been highly requested. Today you will need some masking tape and a Posca pen. You can see that I've already put my tape on the windows. You can use whichever thickness you want. This is masking tape, by the way. Preferably as not sticky tape as you can use because you don't want it to be difficult to remove off your windows later. We are doing two things today. We're doing the word birthday in text, like regular manuscript, and then we're going to do it in cursive. So there will be two different versions here. The word birthday is written on the tape here. That is because I will misspell things. Like, that's a very honest, I will misspell things. So I always write it on the tape for that, but also because I count the letters in the word to find the middle point of that word and then put it on the window. And yes, I am sweating so bad. It is already like 85 degrees in Wisconsin and I'm dying. So just be advised. I know that it's worse elsewhere, but it's hot here for us, okay? So word birthday, halfway point between 8 letters is the T and the H. So I just kind of find the center here and then start putting my lettering on the window. I have a relatively steady hand, okay? Just be advised of that, but you can use any sort of tools you want. If you want to use a straight edge to keep your letters straight, that's totally fine. In my opinion, I don't know that it matters that much. I don't know that keeping everything like absolutely straight always matters that much, because once you put your paint down, it's all kind of blend anyways. So here is the last half of the word birthday. This marker is trying to ruin my life. I just want you guys to know that. It's like pooling on the end. I don't know what the deal is with that. Birthday, yay. Also, just so we're clear, I also have very good handwriting outside of writing on windows. It's been a thing that I've done since I was a kid. My advice to you on that would be to practice your handwriting a lot, to try and keep things straight. Practice on a large format, like at a big poster board and practice. That might be a good way to kind of work on it. And then for cursive, everyone's cursive is different, okay? This is the way that I write in cursive. So when you see cursive on windows, it's typically just my handwriting. So again, I know the middle point is going to be here, so for this one, I'm just going to put the tape line here. I always do it kind of italicized. And you can go over the tape, that is totally fine. And I'm very intentionally leaving these letters kind of wide, because when you add paint, things thicken up. So just be advised, that's why we're doing that. Now we're gonna get onto the painting, but before we do that, we do wanna just remove our tape. Yes, there will be a little bleeding on the top, but it's never really that big of a concern for me. I just wipe it and go. Especially for today, it's not really going to matter. So I thought I would also kind of show you what brushes I use. I'm sure people use fancier brushes than me. I am typically using a pack of brushes like this from Hobby Lobby or from Walmart, usually Walmart, because I don't like to go to Hobby Lobby. These are great because they've got a bunch of different sizes in them. You will notice there are like rounded brushes and there are square brushes, there are angled brushes, there are thin tapered brushes. You want the whole gamut because you never know what's gonna fit your project best. That's why I like these. Plus, I paint so often that I blow through paintbrushes like nobody's business. My accountant told me I need to spend more money to offset my taxes. So I buy a lot of paintbrushes. Also, I use, for larger stuff, these Wooster Shortcut brushes. These things are my absolute favorite brush ever. It's a 2-inch angled brush with a rubber handle that's easy for me to grip. Even when it's wet, it's easier to grip because it's like silicone based. These are the bomb. I just want you to know that. And then for paint, I use, for my white base, and this has taken quite a few years of trial and error because of some formulation changes that Sherwin-Williams made over the years that have annoyed me. I use Sherwin-Williams Latitude exterior house paint in flat or white. You always want to use flat. The reason for that is because the glossier the paint, the more likely it will slip if it rains. Like the rain will just wash it off the windows. This also includes craft paint. A lot of people start window painting with craft paint. Totally cool. Use flat. Use matte paint. No shine. At the minimum, a satin is totally fine too, but you don't want to go any glossier than satin. So this is Latitude paint put into an old Sherwin-Williams container because I like these plastic containers a lot. They're easy to clean and maintain. I like the screw top lids. It's easier for my hands to handle. So, got our paint and my paintbrushes. Now is the determination of what brush you want to use. For lettering, I'm usually pretty particular, and I might actually break out a new brush for this. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And that's because I know the one in my bucket is frayed and not doing well. So let's grab a new brush here. Everyone, again, has preferences on what they use, and there is gonna be, like, depending on what the lettering is, how big the lettering is, there's gonna be a lot of, like, difference on what you choose for your brush. This is a good determination here too. See how one is wider but shorter and one is longer but like thinner this way? This is a preference. It depends on what you want. I typically like when they're a little bit shorter like this. And for this particular writing, I don't think it's gonna be too much of a big deal here. But I am gonna go with the smaller one just because it's easier. With these craft ones, check that your ferrule, so this metal part here, is tight. Sometimes they're loose and you don't want your brush to fall apart while you're using it. When I start lettering, I go from right to left. And that's just because, I don't know, man, that's what I typically do. I don't really know why I do it that way, but the main thing when you paint these, keep your brush an even thickness as you go, because that'll help you when you have to relayer letters and stuff to get them the full depth of thickness that you need so that it stays in the window well. I hope I'm making sense. I'm not really good at doing tutorials. So, hold your brush. A lot of people have asked too in the group I've seen where they're like, why is it when I paint and I add a second layer, the paint comes up? It's because you are doing too many swipes on paint that is either not fully dry or is fully dry and was too thin on that first layer. You need to do one swipe. That's why we're trying to keep this consistent. You'll also notice that, like, when I do lettering, so I want the ends to be flat of the letters, right? I want them to be nice and even. Let me get you a little closer so you can see a little better. So again, what I'm doing to make sure these ends are staying square is I am using that brush on the bottom here like this and then bringing it up and leaving a space at the top. I'm going to do the bottom here, again keeping it all level and even, and then I'm going to go from that top down my edges. That just helps keep letters straight and even, and then you can cross your A. Then you're going to continue this and doing it similarly. Different letters are different depending on the shape. So D is a little bit different too, because we're going to bring that swoop around to even out the bottom. So I don't really need to worry about staying square, except here I'll start from the side to keep it square and then come up. So you'll see on H here, we're going to go all the way down to the middle from the top down, and then we're going to start from the bottom and go up, and then add our lettering line across the middle there. Every letter is a little bit different, like I said, so just kind of use your best judgment, what works best for you. And I'm not pressing super hard. That's why the paint is so opaque on that first pass, because the harder you press, the more it's like basically squeegeeing out the paint from underneath. And that's why you're getting a thinner layer on your first go. I'm also like pretty well loading my brush. You can see that was a little thin there. Loading my brush up with enough paint that it sort of pulls out the side of the brush when you go. I'm sure that anybody who's taken an art class is going, wow, all these terms are not anything that you're supposed to learn. I didn't take art classes, okay? I didn't take art in college, in high school or in college. I was a music person. Again, going down. And there we go. Now this is for square letters. If you want a more rounded letter, use a more rounded brush. You'll get rounded ends on it. That saves you a lot of time. Now we're gonna go on to my cursive. This is my own personal cursive, and it's basically similar to calligraphy, that the downstrokes in what I paint will be thicker than other strokes. So you'll kind of see the thickness change. When I do cursive, I do start from the left and go right. So I'm gonna do my downstroke here first. She's gonna be our thickest one. I am pushing a little bit harder to get it a little bit thicker. And then I'm gonna use the edge of the brush here to start my thin line, and then stroke into a wider line and flick it in. Again, thin, thicker here, and then flicking around to get a thinner line here. You'll see the eye here like this, and then a thinner line to stroke up, all using the same brush. You could change brushes. It's just gonna take you more time to do that. Also, if you hear my dog barking like crazy, I'm so sorry. So then kind of bring her around town, and again, widening the stroke for that R there, and then coming up with a thinner stroke here. And then thin going up, and then thicken this guy going down, and then thin going up. Same vibe here, thin going around the loop, and then as you come back down, thicken her up. Thin for the top of the H, thick, and then thin into your swoop. Thin here, thick as you come around that side of the D, and then thin as you go up. Thin up the back side of your swoop D, and then as you come back down, thicken that brush stroke and go back up. With A's, I usually start with my big thick downstroke and then that small swoop first, and then do this. It's the same for any letter like that, typically. D, sometimes I do like that too, just kind of depends. And then for Y, I always start with this one first, unless I need to butt it up against something, and then sometimes you'll see me change it up. But, and then again, thick all the way down. And then I will start from the top here with the thin and loop-de-loop and pull. And then you have birthday. Now I got the last of it here. I try to keep these kind of thin and then a little bit thick on the ends sometimes. It just kind of depends. I'm really like winging it here. But that is how I get my writing on the windows. That's basically it. Every brush stroke is going to be a little bit different. And because I use the same brush all the way across, I should be able to go back over this for a second layer, which should be dry because it's hotter than Hades out here, which is why I'm sweating so bad. And be able to get that second coat again in one stroke with very little pressure. Too much pressure and you are going to peel that paint back up off the window, so don't do too much. Plus we're going for opacity here. You want it to be like not see-through. So you're just gonna go back over everything a second time to get it the right coverage that you want. I recommend re-dipping into your paint often for this because you don't want your brush to be dry. Again, that's gonna pull your paint up. And we don't wanna do that. Operating as few strokes as possible. And that's gonna get you your letters the opacity that you need them. I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you kind of the difference between this. As you can see, these three letters are fully opaque. These ones you can see through. You can see what's going on with them. Same thing with like my cursive. You can see the line work underneath. Not necessarily a problem to be able to see underneath like that for all things. If you have a window that's like shaded from rain, you're not gonna have anything messing with it. It probably doesn't matter so much that you have 2 layers of paint or even a base layer of paint. It really depends. I like a white base layer. It helps things stick better to windows. And I'm telling you right now, I've been doing this for years and you want this to stick. Otherwise your rain is gonna come, it's gonna wash it off and you're gonna have to redo things for free and you don't wanna do that. But I hope that that kind of shows you like how I do lettering. More fancy lettering, like the 4th of July thing that I did, is the same process, but every lettering style is different. So you just gotta kind of have to work with your lettering as you go. I hope that this helps. And I'm gonna go inside and not die of heat stroke at 8 o'clock in the morning now. Bye.